Okay, go.
Hi, this is Giles again here with the part 2 of our Bubbly Bulletin number 7. And I just want to tell you about another little anecdote from over in Champagne where I was 10 days ago, which relates to the price of champagne, which I'm sure will interest you. It gives you a bit of insight into the champagne industry, which I think is fascinating, and it also tells you a bit about the French mentality, which is fascinating, intriguing and unfathomable at times as well. So anyway, we're over at our house in Champagne, and I had to go and see a lady because I had a bill to settle up. Went round to see her, and she used to be the owner of the little newsagent in the village, and she was telling me that she'd sold the news agency and she'd gone back to just working on her vines. And like so many people in Champagne, the family or the individual has a few acres or even less, and they grow grapes and they sell their grapes to the champagne houses, and that's the way they make their living. And she was telling me that they were still waiting to find out how much they were going to be paid for this year's harvest. Now every year there's a meeting around about this time to decide not just on the price of a kilo of grapes, but also the size of the harvest. And it's particularly important this year because there's a big controversy. It's always a bit of a sort of heated meeting, but this year is particularly difficult. So let me explain why. If you remember about a year ago, 18 months ago, the sales of champagne all around the world were going through the roof, and the supply just couldn't keep up with the demand. And so much so that there was a project launched in Champagne to add 40 new villages to the Champagne area so that they could increase production and keep up with the demand. Now if you fast forward a year, what's happened? Well, we all know what's happened around the world. Suffice it to say that sales of champagne are not what they were 18 months ago. So at this point it brings in the big champagne houses who, well, they sell, you know, 2/3 or certainly 60% of all the champagne that's sold around the world. Now normally they have in their cellars about 3 years worth of stock aging, and at the moment they've got more than that. It's gone up to about 4 years because they can't sell what they've got, right? So the last thing they want is a big harvest, which will mean more wine coming in and more wine that they've got to stock, and that's really expensive for them. So they want this year's harvest to be really cut back drastically, about 50%, so that they can reduce their stocks, and more important for them, they can avoid, which is absolutely paramount for them, they can avoid the price of champagne crashing down through excess stock being flooded onto the market to generate some cash, just get rid of it. So they want to halve the harvest. But if you look at it from the other side, like this lady who used to own the newsagent, she just grows grapes and she sells grapes, that's her living. She wants to sell as much as she can grow. So she's really very, very seriously worried about the prospect that the harvest will be halved. So you've got on the one side the champagne houses, you've got on the other side the growers who want diametrically opposite things. The growers want the highest price and the maximum harvest. This year in particular the big houses want the lowest price and the lowest possible harvest. And somewhere in the middle you've got the smaller champagne houses who prepare to accept something in the middle. So this year's it's actually a really ding-dong battle going on, and on September the 2nd there's a meeting at which all this will come to a head. So I thought there was really interesting insight into the machinations of the champagne industry, which actually have a direct impact on what you pay in the shops. But another interesting little thing that I found amusing was, at the end of this conversation, the lady I was talking to turned around to me and said, well, of course, if the meeting doesn't go as we hope, then we'll be on strike in Paris the following day. I said, well, the following day? How do you get it organised so quickly? She said, oh, well, we've already organised it. The Union of Farmers is having a demonstration that day. They've been in touch with us. They've got us to sign up for a place on the bus. We've paid our money and we're all ready to go. Strike the very next day. And I thought, wow, that is a particularly Gallic way of negotiating. Organise a strike first and then go into the meeting. So there you go. That's France for you. But you know, it's a love-hate relationship, and lots of us who love champagne love that as well. So just thought I'd share that with you, and in the third part of this Bubbly Bulletin we're going to be talking about something quite different. It's Blanc de Blanc champagnes and an area called La Côte des Blancs. So I hope you join me for part 3, which will be in the next video. Thanks very much. Bye for now.